have none.
Okay,
You're gonna make me look good here.
all in favor of approving the minutes of May 21?
As corrected.
That's correct.
As corrected.
All right.
Okay, no additions, any deletions to the agenda? It's a long one, Kim. Actually, I might have one. Yes.
There is some correspondence. We'll get correspondence when we get there, rather than just write it down. You do have a late notice from Townshend, so, which goes with ancient roads.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and yeah, I don't see ancient roads on here. Can we stick that under old business?
Yeah, as it should be for a while.
Jeez, I thought it was on there.
Well,
Huh, maybe I took it off to make this fit on one page. Ancient roads and the road business. Yep.
okay, we've got warrants. Okay, the first one is what's going on with contact.
With contact, I know that Kurt's talked to them, and I talked with both Steve Wolf, the sales guy, and with Chuck Lambold, who's a credit representative, and Chuck sent me back to Steve and said that there's no way we can back out of this, that he was part of the return authorization. They don't have their own trucks. They have to pay for it to be sent back. They can't backhaul it. And the truck that was delivering the 6-foot culvert had other deliveries.
Did we know that that was gonna be $900 now when they took it back?
We did not.
We did not know that. So they did not tell us that they were gonna charge us $900 to return that culvert.
We should be putting them on our short list and not doing business with them in the future because of that. And having looked at the return authorization doesn't state anything about a
$900 fee.
$900 chargeback fee.
No fee at all.
Anything even entertain meeting in the middle, because they had to pay
The truck.
another trucking company.
Well, they should have that.
I understand,
Yeah.
but I think, I don't think that we owe it. We didn't know that cost was gonna be incurred. Had we been given the option, am I correct, we would have kept that culvert and made use of it somewhere else, rather than throw $900 at it. So I think it's the company's fault for not saying, I mean, if they were making a special trip and all that, it's a different deal. If they brought us, am I right? They brought us the reordered culvert, right? And they took back the old culvert.
But not in the same vehicle.
Over 600.
They had to make a special trip. They had to send another truck out, and
And they still didn't tell us so.
the town should have, unfortunately, they didn't explain it, and we didn't ask. So I understand. I'm just as frustrated by it as you are.
Can we get a motion on warrants before we get too far into discussion?
Oh,
Well,
thank
they
you.
saw
Anybody motion to approve the warrants?
I'll make that
Before we
motion to
continue
approve the warrant
discussing.
so that we can discuss it.
Second?
second.
The paper trail that they issue clearly shows no discussion of a fee
The fee to pick up the,
to pick up that.
I mean, I can understand if we call them up and said, come take that old culvert away, or the one that we don't want. They're not gonna do that for free. My understanding was that they brought the correct one and took back the old one.
Right. But what happened was they brought the new one we ordered, and they sent a truck out to get the old one because they didn't have a truck. The truck that they sent the new one out on had other things on it and was going in a different direction.
Well, that's not, it didn't happen well, he probably could have been, probably just went over here and dropped something off, and then came and got this culvert, that's what it was. Cause he didn't have anything else, he came, he picked it up, it would have fit, so. He probably made delivery over here, dropped it off, and then got it.
So it wasn't like really making a special trip, or that
That's not how the trucking
or
company.
that we said, let's get it
That's
out.
not usually how the trucking company charge them.
That's not how they charge. They make a lot of
Oh, I
money
know
off it. They make a lot of money after
I
back
understand
hauls.
that, but
So we can either
This is the first,
fight it in court or
We'll get more,
I don't think it's good.
we'll get more into it than.
You expressed feeling on doing business with them again.
I think we just, yes, I mean, how much do you spend on?
yeah, I don't know, I'll be deciding the discussion.
We have pretty full plate.
and the other discussion, the other note on the firm that's working on the town reports is they're slowly digitizing them.
Can we do these warrants individual instead of as a group tonight? Because there's also a discussion on this highway one, for seal and stripe from, Bill Joyce for sealing and striping. There was a question on whether that was a contract or how we got that, is that right?
Yep.
So we need, so if we can do these
Sure.
individual.
We can do these individually.
I'd like to. I'm done talking about contact.
Okay, then I would move that we,
No, on the same one is the questions, the discussion on the seal and striping.
No, I did, where it is this something that we do every year with them, or?
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever put it out to bid. I mean, we may have a long time ago, but I don't know if the board did in the past 2 or 3 years. I think it was
Not
just a
recent
matter of
years.
course that we, being local and we're
No,
all
that's
satisfied.
all, but I saw the bill, and I just wanted, right, came about.
It's good to have new people looking at things.
Yes, and he does carry insurance. He does get a 1099
Oh, I'm sure he's
for his
probably-
work, so.
It's reasonable, as you can find.
so do you not want to pay that contact?
I will vote no. I will vote not to pay it.
Okay.
I mean, the rest I can certainly, the rest of the board.
Then I would move that we,
That's why I asked that those be done individually.
right. I would move that we pay the check warrant for the highway fund minus contact construction bill of $900.
I would second that.
Amend the motion to withhold the payment to
Do
contact.
we,
Is somebody gonna contact them?
I will contact them
I mean,
tomorrow.
and you guys can vote to pay it if you want. I mean, if you want to take,
No, I think-
maybe we want to take that bill up on an individual vote. That's, and I'm not sure what our next step is. I don't think.
I don't know what good it's gonna, I mean, I'm not for paying it either, but I mean, how much we gonna fight it? I mean, how much we gonna spend fighting it?
Well, let's go to the next step anyway, see what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Let them send a second notice.
Well, I've had
Let
that,
them get to the point where they begin threatening us, and let's see what they threaten us with.
I have, their credit representative's phone number, and I've been in contact with him, and that'll keep it out of the heat off of Kurt.
I've had his name brought up in emails, I never dealt with him. I always dealt with Steve.
No,
Yeah,
so let's see what, I will contact him and tell him that they need to do a better job of informing the towns of their contractors that, there's gonna be a return charge. The town of Townshend does not wanna pay it.
Well, and make it clear to them that if we had known that there was a return charge, we would have kept it.
Okay.
Chet, did you have a question on that other bunch that you haven't signed? It's the one that's outside of the,
This one,
Do
yeah.
you
was
want-
there a sticky on
The
it?
sticky wasn't there.
That one needed it.
Oh,
It's
that,
the whole.
the sticky was,
Oh,
was
yeah.
about the records preservation, and
That's right.
I just was saying to Chad that we have a reserve fund for doing that,
Okay.
so
Well, I
that's,
saw that on there, and I didn't know if there was
Yeah.
money, if last year's budget included that, but if it,
yeah.
okay, I don't know.
No, it's what, $2 of every, page of recording is set aside for records
For records,
preservation. Yes, so the $10 a page, 8 is for the recording and 2 is for record preservation, so that is separated out, you'll see that separated out on Anita's sheets that she gives you, and so that money goes into a separate reserve account.
In that
Reserve
case, I guess
liability.
what we need to do is, if there's a second to, David's amendment, that we approve the warrants all except for the contact bill. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, let's vote on that. All in favor?
And we had a call from the Department of Education today wondering where our money was, because it was due June 1st.
Are you going back to the
Oh
main
my
motion, or
God,
was that the
4
main
days
motion?
late. They're gonna charge us interest.
Since nobody seconded it,
Jeff seconded the main motion.
Jeff seconded the main motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so
You won't.
You
Craig
just
is
approved,
correct.
you just approved the amendment. so
we
now
just
you're back to
approved the
main
amendment,
motion.
so we need to approve the main motion.
So the motion is to pay the warrants withholding,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the amendment on there, withholding contract. So you need to call the question.
So, how much? We'll call it question.
Well,
If
okay.
you're done with discussion. Excuse me.
I think we're done with discussion.
All those in favor of passing?
I would think nobody would be, having passed the amendment, that we're gonna approve everything except. Anyway, okay, all in favor of the original motion?
Aye.
Okay,
How much are they charging us interest?
I think she figured it up to be $66 and change.
State of law,
The State of Vermont Department of Education.
because we were late on payments.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've ever, the town has ever had to pay into the state on the education. And they called today and Anita, explained to them, well, we hadn't gotten any FEMA money and we didn't have any money and it's on the warrant for tonight and it'll be mailed tomorrow. And, well, they didn't know if they would be able to waive those interest charges or not.
No, we won't be looking.
So I don't think she heard back.
You're charging FEMA interest, are you?
Let's take it on the state.
well,
You could get a check back.
Charge them a toll.
I didn't include it in this check, I have to go separately for it, because it was already on the warrant, and that's what I had.
okay, I think we're up to the highway report.
Well, I had few days off last week, the guys, they did exactly what I asked them. We got some culverts in Route 35, we have 2 more to do, 2 more culverts. I did write up the plan for Route 35, the RFP. tune the dates and stuff like that. I changed from the original one, that's, you guys got to change from Lane, it was just description I had for, you know, everybody that I met with, and, he took that. But anyways, it's gonna be in 3 different spots, get the best bang for the buck to cover up some of the flood damage there that's been fixed. But this will just reassure that it doesn't break up, you know, over the winter. And we have some bad spots and cover up these new culverts. So you guys can take a look at this, and you can give it to me after, you know, put it in my mailbox if you guys decide something different on it. As far as the date, I don't know what date you guys want it mailed in, or the bids. We gotta put something in the paper, Greg. And another RFP we should do, you had it, you should have it on your computer, it's the Mullen one to put in the paper.
For, yeah.
And the roadside Mullen, we should get that lined up pretty soon.
You know, we wanna put dates on that this year, when you want it done and.
Well, he had dates, but he also had an aneurysm.
Yeah.
So. Then we had Irene, so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of
These-
on top of each other.
Kurt, these spots that you're gonna fix up that are flood damaged, is that something?
No. This one spot is gonna, we're doing overlay over that flood damage by Mike said. That's been fixed and paid for by federal highway.
But it needs more fixing, you're telling me?
I just wanna make sure it doesn't break up more. It's all bad through there anyways, you know where I'm talking, right by the bridge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the least of my concern, that spot there, the rest of the road.
Working on truck.
And I was gonna plan on for next year, do the 2 spots that were missing in between the 3 spots, and then do East Hill and Deer Valley, then that, in the town will be done. And we'll have to cycle, keep cycling around town again, you know what I mean? Which I did, the date's wrong, I haven't
Have
touched
you
this.
looked at this?
No.
Okay.
York out now.
What did we do? Crushing gravel,
Yeah.
Next year.
so we got enough to get by?
No,
When we
Huh?
have to do this.
we'll have to get by, we have before. A little no gravel left, but just, we're saving our gravel for projects that we usually call and stuff like that, and not gravel on more roads. The long-term projects for now are the sign and culvert inventory. I met with the Wyndham Regional Planning Commission 2 weeks ago. We're gonna go around town. She got a little, she was taking plots on her GPS to see where things are on roads and stuff. I really have to get started on that. That'll be myself doing that while the guys are doing other things. This weather hasn't helped us out for scraping everything we have scraped, of course, you know, it's all wet and muddy and foul. Our equipment, everything's going good right now. Keep positive. That's all I'm looking at. Keep positive. Supplies, we're gonna need some more culverts for Route 35. I haven't spent any money on anything. I've been checking with Kim before I do anything. But I'm gonna have to buy some more culverts, probably six more lengths of culvert, 8 more lengths. East Hill. We talked about East Hill before, getting that project started, but we're waiting for something from FEMA. I know it's on your agenda for tonight. We got that 18 months from the time of the incident. I actually talked to Greg Morley today, our FEMA guy, and today was his last day.
Boy,
Yeah.
they don't last, do they?
So our PW for East Hill, he allotted us, with his cipher and his engineering background and stuff like that, he ciphered us $209,000 to fix the East Hill Road. And it's going through the PW
Review
review
process.
process right now. With the way we have it situated, my plan and stuff that he went over, I think we can do it for that. I'm hoping we can do it for that. I think it'll be close, but I think it'll be done.
I think we have the ability, even once it goes through, if our engineers look at his scope of work and we decide that that scope of work needs to change for whatever reason, I mean, I think we might have a little bit of leeway there if, you know, our engineers think that he's way off, whatever.
So we'll have to, once we get the ball rolling, we'll have Reggie start it.
That's what I'm saying. is
Last time I-
We'll have that, and we'll have in writing what he's got laid out for for what needs to be done, and how much gravel, and blah, 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 and, then we can have Stevens and Associates, when we're gonna get them started, maybe look at that and see how realistic it is.
The last time we met Chad, he wanted me to have him email you, and I called him up that day. And, yeah, I'll email it to him. I told Kim he was gonna email the PW, and we still have not received that PW. And, I had an email last Thursday on my email, of course I wasn't here, apologizing that it hadn't gotten back to me. Because I was gonna just forward it to you guys, you know. I even gave your address also. But, yeah, things don't get done like I would have them like this.
I'll have to look in to see if I can find above him maybe.
He gave me the name of the guy. Oh, shoot, I left it on the computer. Give me another name of the guy. The guy was here, actually.
Yes, Trezano, Steve, something Trezano is still left in the Brattleboro office, who will be our contact from now on, or until, they're thinking they're gonna have that office closed by the end of June in Brattleboro, so
They'll have to go
we'll
through
need to,
Albany? No, Boston.
Boston, which
Boston.
Are we gonna call off the radar on this?
You can.
What's his name?
Scott Trezano. Scott. I will double check on that in my office.
I have the number.
Sure, it's Scott Trezano. I have his number as well.
What about Culvert on Townshend Acres?
I'm waiting for Manise to come back.
So we're waiting on him?
Yeah.
Can you give him another call? Or I will.
You can give another call. I called him before I went on my trip to the 6th grade. And I also mentioned that Charlie Marchand is waiting to meet him also for the fire bond.
Oh, he's done that.
We need to get a permit.
Did you get the permit?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm also waiting to meet him on the cemetery on State Forest Road too. So,
Oh, yeah.
so I have 2 things I want to meet him on. And, but no other.
And he's got to say go on that one?
Yeah.
On Plum Road.
Gotta tell you, having your crew doing those culverts while you were gone was a really good move, I think. I've heard comments from people.
Well, I knew you can't get 2 a day. It's a big process to get 1 a day done, so I knew that would be a good project for that. They did fine, they did a good job. All weekend long, got hammered and rained on and stuff, and there's really not, there's some potholes in it, but the compaction is pretty good.
Both are over.
I think having them out there doing something conspicuous while you're out of town is a good move.
No, they don't do it. I wrote everything down on the whiteboard in the break room if you went in there. Their Tuesday day, their Wednesday day, and everything, so. You need to know, when I'm not here, it should be written down right now.
Well, it seems to be working.
Are we gonna be to put a 15-inch sub base of gravel on East Hill for $209,000? Because that's what the plan, the highway policy for reconstruction of roads within the town. That's what was adopted in 1999. And for us to meet that,
And that was FEMA standard.
and that was FEMA standards then, and FEMA standards now haven't changed.
There's no way we can do that for 209.
That's a 15-inch sub base of gravel with
With all the culverts.
with all the culverts and,
The grade, all the ditch grade work.
well, the ditch grade work, but also the
Tree removal.
guardrails.
I think we can get the slope sliding down, hopefully, to do away with the guardrail, but maybe not.
We're gonna have to see what the PW says too, what he has, what's inclusive.
The PW, I mean, the whole problem that they're fighting us over paying for the Townshend Dam culvert is that everything was inconsistent.
Should we, I guess,
And
my,
this is what the town said we're gonna follow.
What it means inconsistent, really.
A&R.
A&R was inconsistent in what they were saying needed to be done within the state of Vermont. So FEMA's
They would let other towns get away with lesser, lesser quality.
lesser culverts. And this is definitely,
I mean, do you think we should get our engineers going until we got
I
something?
think
we definitely need to get moving on
We've
that.
got to get an alignment or something.
Well, I wanted the word, because I've been holding off.
But you should know what FEMA's specing before you have Stevens look at it, so they don't go off and design something up
Well,
to
basically, we'll give them that standard sheet right there, and that's what
Up to
they should design it.
And that's what they're gonna have to design it to. Otherwise FEMA is gonna,
that's our road policies and.
Well, we must supposed to make us follow that.
That's right, I mean,
We adopted for the state for this type of situation.
see, if they're talking about inconsistencies, that policy, when we adopted that, that was FEMA's policy.
That was
If we
fine.
did not stick to that, they would not reimburse us.
right,
So if it's inconsistencies from other towns, well, that's other towns. We have followed what FEMA told us to do and the policy that we had to adopt in '99.
as long as we followed it, and I don't know.
I don't know if we
I
have,
don't know
because I
if we
haven't
followed
been
it.
there looking at it.
Since Irene, or since the time, because this lists,
I don't know what the specs are, I mean, I didn't go out and look at it.
I mean, this lists minimum radii and sub-base and clearances and how many inches is supposed to be outlined. So, if we're not following our own standards, then any money that we might or might not get from FEMA is moot point.
The other piece to that is, and I think I voiced this opinion at the last meeting, was I don't think that we should let it lag. I think we should be in FEMA's face just as much as we possibly can about reimbursement for that Townshend dam thing.
As a matter of fact, when Greg he called me today as well, and, I told him that, all the PWs that he'd done were in the system. We'd gotten paid for a couple of them, including the dam, but we were appealing the dam culvert amount to FEMA, and he said, well, I really think, from your perspective, it should be a two-pronged thing, because you really should be addressing A&R. I mean, A&R has some culpability in this position that we're in. A&R, the state of Vermont. So maybe we shouldn't be just going after FEMA. Maybe we should be, pushing the A&R side of it. I mean, even though they're trying their best to help us with FEMA, if we don't win, A&R is still the one that put us on the spot.
Bob, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I've got a question. Beck Engineering, what was their role in the dam culvert?
They designed it according to A&R's permit.
So, in other words, Beck took what A&R gave them. Is that documented? Is it written?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In the hydraulics.
Oh, yeah.
We can't get a permit to work in the brook unless you do it in that sense.
Well, they made an exemption during that period, correct?
No, not just for working in the brook, but for replacing the culvert. We had to have an A&R permit.
Okay.
An A&R
So
permit.
Beck followed what A&R said?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a situation that's happened in other towns in Vermont, and A&R is really responsible for the towns being in this position. As I had said before, the state has hired, a firm that is helping the state help the towns appeal these FEMA decisions. But, just passing on what he said today. That, they should, maybe be looking at.
How are we doing with the FEMA appeal?
The FEMA appeal, I will have it in by the 7th.
Oh, I actually think we're all, sort of all set. Did I send you a copy of the email that I sent to Ben Rose?
Possibly not.
Okay. A gentleman by the name of Ben Rose, who works for the state of Vermont, called me. We spoke for quite a while. We were trying to make sure that, we weren't missing any deadlines or whatever. He said there's some language, things that you need to put in, your email regarding this appeal. So he sent me that language. So then I turned around and sent him that email. So
Okay.
I think we are okay.
Well, I will-
When I have a break here, I'll run and get a copy of it, so, and I can tell you guys what the email said. It was just a very simple one paragraph thing, and that's when he told me that the state had hired this, outside firm that's very, has a lot of experience dealing with FEMA. They know FEMA in and out. Apparently they're, former FEMA people and are going to be helping towns like Townshend through this appeal process. And at some point, they will be contacting us to try to get together and do whatever the next step is. So, I think we're okay on that. We're in the pipeline to pursue the appeal.
Well, I've read through about 3/4 of the stack of emails that Kurt has. It's been kind of slow because I want them to be there during the day when he's, could be needing to refer to them. So I've been going after work and getting them and reading through them and getting them back to him. So I've got about 1/4 left to go through, but you can clearly see where Agency of Natural Resources is telling us, especially right after I ring, go ahead and do this, get this done. And then the information is changing as it progresses in time, and I have a chance to look at it. But yes, I agree with
That's all after the fact.
Mr. Martin that we need to keep FEMA's nose to the grindstone, and that we've got to step on the gas as far as getting East Hill designed and moving.
Well, I think maybe what I'll do, I said when I take a break, I'll go in and get that, but, maybe if one of the select board, if it's gonna be you, David, could make contact with this Ben, and, his name is Ben Rose, and, sort of keep on him, where are you at, what do we need to do, how soon can we get together, keep pushing, like I had to keep pushing about the money.
Well, I think we need to keep pushing it, as we said, but on East Hill, gonna be snow flying for it.
I think we should get our engineers.
That's what I think too.
I'm gonna call that guy tomorrow, that Greg Morgan, and I'm gonna quiz him about a road standard that we adopted for such a thing like this. Before they get this East Hill thing all through and everything, we have to put it in appeal again, unless you want to get through, get the money, then go with the appeal.
Well, we understand a little bit how it works with, he's done a PW based on his engineering experience, based on what he's seen in his calculations. Does that mean that, is it the kind of PW where when all is said and done, we actually get reimbursed on our actuals? Or is that a fixed number? That's another question to ask, because I think they have a couple of different kinds of PWs and how it goes through the system and how it's perceived at the end. So there is a possibility that it might be the type of, which we will, when the actual bills are submitted, that's what you're reimbursed on. The PW is to get the project in the pipeline, get the money obligated, or, at least that amount of money obligated, but I'm not sure that it actually limits us to that amount of money. So that would be a question to ask her.
I will.
Because there are a couple of different ways they go about things, so.
So we're gonna wait 2 more weeks to get it moving, or?
No, I'm gonna call Brett tomorrow.
He's gonna call, I think that you two guys should, along with Kurt, that's my opinion, I don't know the rest of us think, but if it's a go, go.
Let's schedule a meeting and see what
Do it.
Yeah, did say today that he had submitted his PW and it had gone through the first stage of review. So there's gotta be a copy of it somewhere. It's gotta be, you know, somebody's gotta have the particulars.
2 weeks, over 2 weeks ago.
I can try. I don't know if it would be in Tiffany's pipeline yet or not. I can call her and find out too. She seems to have access to some sort of database where all of these things,
Do it,
when
we
they're
wanna-
submitted.
Set something up if they have to sign something or do something that
And did they have access to the topographical survey that
That
we
they
paid to
can-
have done?
Has he been up there? Greg Morley?
FEMA?
Has Greg Morley been
They do
up
their
there?
As
own.
far as I know.
They do their own?
I brought him
I
up.
don't
It's
know.
a very expensive thing to have done.
I
By
have
Stevens.
no idea where he got his details other than
Okay.
having the site visit.
I gave him, he wanted to know, because the first time we're up there, you know, they already had it. They had stakes and benchmarks and pins and everything. He said, well, you know, went out up here and I told him that we were an engineer up here doing a cut and fill topographical thing. And he wanted their number and stuff like that. So when I talk to Brett or whoever I talk to tomorrow, I'll ask him if FEMA ever got in touch with him and see if they got any information from them.
So we have a plan, and I think we need to move on here.
I'd like to go into executive session for a few minutes.
Okay, now,
Yep. For Kurt.
oh, okay, can we wait till the end of Kurt being here?
No, yeah, before you leave.
Okay, no, I'm not suggesting he leave.
Yep.
We have here a certificate from the Vermont Criminal Justice Training Council saying that Kurt completed a 9-hour course titled ICS 200. When I first looked at this, I was really hoping that we had a certificate saying that you're now an authorized beaver control man, but that's not what we got, so here you go.
Clean it up next.
The other thing under Kurt is the trail riders and the public roads, right?
Right.
Were they coming in tonight, Craig?
They should be here a little after 7.
Okay, in that case, why don't we go ahead into executive session and, maybe they'll be here by the time we come out of it, unless anybody else has any other thing for Kurt.
So,
Mary?
Yeah, I have a question for Kurt. Did I hear him say that they were all through scraping the roads?
No.
No.
Oh, okay, I was just, because our road hasn't been done in 2 years, so I would like to, we got some pretty big potholes in there. I think Chad can probably attest to it.
Hasn't been scraped in 2 years?
Really?
that's Stone Traffic? Is that the word?
Stone Arch, but
Yeah, okay.
they brought some gravel out after Irene, you know, that problem there, but as far as scraping, we haven't seen anything in 2 years.
Motion from Mr. Greenwood to enter executive session with Mr. Boston at 7:42. Yes? I guess so.
As a member of the public, I object to having to go outside during executive session.
Oh,
So there.
sorry.
Okay, I think we're back. We're all
We get
here.
the time well.
David?
All right,
As a result.
so resolution is that Chad and I will meet with the road crew and, Joe.
assume you've all had a chance to look at the town clerk's report,
Yes.
so that gets us the bookkeeper and the treasurer.
That's me?
Yeah.
You're at me.
Or Joe.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm sure you've all got my email. We've got a very nice deposit from FEMA last Thursday. I emailed Tiffany on Wednesday and said, look, we've only gotten $1,275 since Irene. What is going on here? You know, because I had been told a couple of weeks before that there had been money approved, and why only seen it? So anyways, she sort of told me what was going on, and I came in on Friday, and we had some money. And it's, I don't know, I know it's the dam culvert, but I don't know what other PWs it's for. I'm supposed to get the paperwork in the mail.
How much?
It was $407,767.37.
And she spent it all at Tiffany's there.
Yeah. You know, we still have more coming. We'll see when that happens, but so that was actually a big help. So we have money in the bank now. The taxes have been coming in pretty well. We still got, as of today, 10.5% of the fourth quarter outstanding, almost $100,000, which, you know, was due Friday. There probably will still be some postmarked the 1st, so we'll give that until, I don't know, Friday and see where we're at before we put our warrant together and pass it on to the delinquent tax collector. So that actually leaves us right now in this current year with $192,875.57 we have not collected on this year's taxes between all 4 quarters. 192. We told you got the call from the education department, so that check is going out tomorrow. Hopefully they will be satisfied with getting that. We'll see if we get a bill for the interest. So we, at this point, obviously we'll have enough money to pay the schools and have operating money for the year. We, the $500,000 line of credit, we used $250 of that to pay off the old line of credit. So, you know, that leaves us with another $250 if we need it between now and September. And hopefully if this money keeps coming in, we should be in fine shape. You know, I don't see any other extraordinary expenses. We got $30,000 in delinquent taxes in this month, because actually it was 32 and change because of the one big property owner that paid. So we got that check that's in the bank as well. And so I think that's it. No, I'm glad they have some money. I don't have to come to you and say we can't pay the bills.
Oh, good.
Okay, anybody have questions for Kim before we move on?
The 32 that came in delinquent taxes is not reflected in the 192 that's still outstanding as of right now.
No, because this is 192 is just for this
Just
current
for this
year.
year,
The 32 is a,
Previous years.
yeah.
Yep, okay.
All right, emergency management director's report. The big issue is, everybody should have seen that the Grace Cottage Hospital, due to Pikes Falls Road being residential only, they have canceled the Tour de Grace for the summer. So it gives us time to discuss how much involvement the board wants emergency management to be doing in the activities of the town and of non-governmental agencies. I'm working on an RFP for the fire pond because we've gotten permit to work on that, so I am creating an RFP for excavation work for the fire pond and put in the dry hydrant. And personally, I think that the select board, as we start getting closer to the pumpkin festival and the hospital fair days, it'd be nice if the select board at least had a booth or a presence at those, so that we can start expounding the benefits of being a resident of Townsend and bringing businesses that pay taxes to Townsend, so that we can spread the tax base. But I will wait to hear for your discussion on whether emergency management should be assisting with the traffic. I know that the fire department and Mr. Marchant have been dealing with the traffic at hospital fair days, but whether you want us to work something up with the constables for the other events.
Seems like the Townsend Business Association might want to be involved in a booth.
At the pumpkin, they put that on.
They're the ones that sponsor it.
Yeah.
They ought to have a booth to promote businesses, and, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily our, or the select board's
Shouldn't be, should it?
position, I don't know.
Well,
We represent the town, so I guess what I'm saying is it's up to you,
Well,
but
We'll have to discuss that.
yeah.
you can
At a different.
think about it and discuss it, and other than that, I'm just, continuing to move on with the.
Craig, would you make a note to put it on our next agenda, and you'll be thinking about it in the meantime? Mary, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, well, I just, with the emergency management in Grace Cottage Hospital there, now that they're not going to have the Tour de Grace, I guess I have no real complaint, but my feeling is that the residents of the town of Townsend shouldn't have to pay that. I would think that would be the responsibility of Grace Cottage Hospital. I don't feel that, we don't collect any taxes from Grace Cottage. I mean, I support Grace Cottage, I go there, but I don't feel that they give back to the community as much as some people would like to realize, I guess is. And I don't feel that they should, that emergency management or the town should be responsible for any part of, like, the Tour de Grace. I don't see the involvement there.
I think it might be helpful if we have some idea what the actual cost is of providing emergency services.
Well, up till now, providing emergency services for the Tour de Grace and or the 5K, Spring and Health 5K rally race was, it was all done volunteer.
I
But
think
I
that's,
can definitely provide you the amount of hours that it took and the amount of cost that what it would cost the town and the fire department to move equipment.
well, I think it's in the same discussion and role that we really need to be looking at, is what is the town government's role in non-governmental agency functions in the town of Townsend. I mean, we talked briefly about that at the last meeting, and I think it's something that's gonna continue to bloom and blossom, for lack of a better word. And I think it's something that the board in the near future will discuss, and because it's not just at Grace Cottage Hospital, there's a number of other, maybe Leland and Gray Parade or whatever, pumpkin, and it can go on and on and on. And what's our role and responsibility as far as the town goes and, non-government agencies?
Yeah, and I feel too, though, that, why would something like that be the liability of the town when it's their function? I just don't understand that.
liability, from my understanding legally, the liability would come in if the town did not. Other towns have stated that if you're going to have a function that is less, that will have less than 100 people attending, there's no charge. But if you're going to have a function greater than 100 people, then you have to provide for medical attention, you have to provide for sanitary attention, you have to provide funding to clean up after the function, you have to make sure that there is law enforcement so that you don't have hooliganism happening at the same time as the function. And you would have, as a private business, you would have to pay for that. The town could, some of the towns, the town of Norwich charges per hour for their constable and their emergency rescue crew. So it's, while Townshend doesn't have, we have elected constables, we're not up to that level yet. We don't have a rescue crew. But without us stating to them, if you're going to have 135 people meeting at the Common and running up and down Route 35, what are you going to do to provide it?
But that's not the town's function. That's Grace Cottage Hospital's function, so it should be their liability.
It should be their liability, but the town up till now has not stated to them that you have to make sure that this is your liability, that you are covering the liability for this, because Mary, when the Spring into Health 5K rally happened up by the town garage, there were times that traffic was stopped on both ways on Route 30, both directions, because people were walking in the road. And all of the drivers did a wonderful job, and most of the participants would get out of the way to let the traffic continue. Some of them, for some reason, thought we were actually closing the road when we weren't. And the only reason that I had volunteers there was to make sure, A, that the road was closed at the race start to keep everybody safe, and then so that we could provide notice to Rescue Inc., who was sitting there down at the Common, that if somebody was hurt, we could get them off the road, we could get medical attention to them. But again, it points out the liability that the town, as these events are happening within the town of Townshend, exactly what the select board is discussing. How does the select board want to handle this? Do we want us to be pushing this back onto the businesses? Or do we want to provide minimal services and charge it? These are discussions that they need to have.
Yeah, I think we'll, but certainly some of those things could be covered if we, required permits for events, that either cost enough to cover our costs, or that included provisions for what they would need to do in order to have a permit approved. Either way, though,
We kind of do that now, when the people, they have to ask permission to use the Common, and we dictate on what they need to do.
They always know, we always know when it's going to happen, and
If I may, as a citizen, by knowing what's going to happen, or by giving permission to use the common facilities that belong to the municipality, whether they're roadways or the common, if the government knows about it, then you're giving tacit approval to it. Then you take on a certain responsibility.
That's right.
Without having a stated policy, and that's, I think, what Kid is alluding to, that the board needs to discuss and come up with a policy. It's either a hands-off, this is your liability, this is your function the town has, you need to cover all the services that are necessary for this kind of gathering. Or the town needs to, as David was saying, weigh in and make sure that those coverages are provided.
yeah, I think, we really need to have this on an agenda sometime soon for a bigger discussion, and particularly since, up until now, we really haven't had a functioning emergency management team. This is all fairly new, and how does be a longer discussion though. Was Tiz gonna come?
Yeah, she said she'd be here at 8.
Okay, fine.
You wanna go to-
The trail riders.
Not part of the official party block,
Well, you're a member, right?
He's a member.
Who's a member?
And the Dan Diner, Ronnie overstepped, they were gonna try to be here, but they're trying to close, so they didn't know if they could make it or not.
I don't think we need a gang of you. Okay.
We have 107 members, there's only 3 of us sitting.
Outnumbering us isn't gonna help you.
Well, no.
And you drove regular vehicles to get here.
That's right, I know she.
Well, I can tell you right off that we just had the discussion with the highway foreman, and he said, you guys are great, you're not the ones who ever tear anything up, in fact, you make things better, and he was very supportive.
Very good, thank you, it's nice to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. And none of us even talk to him.
No,
Oh, yeah. You have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
A cup of coffee will be the least of it.
We'll make sure it stays that way, that it's, everybody's under control.
so I guess where we were.
Not, I mean, if we would just want to
Yeah,
begin
yeah,
the discussion
sure.
part, I mean, my concern, and I apologize, I looked at those over again, but up by the dam diner, those drives, I certainly didn't speak to any of the residents there, and I certainly don't object personally to your use. And I would be in favor of you using those roads until such time that we receive complaints from any of the residents that live there, and if we could readdress it at that time, if that happened, if in fact that happens. That was my only concern, you know, residents using that road and that's all. The other one on the Simpson Brook Road, again, I'll bow to what Kurt says, that you guys maintain the roads and that thing better than anything else, and I haven't talked to any residents there, again, personally. I would support your request to use that road, but with the open mind that if we have any problems, that we can revisit it. I don't wanna necessarily say, yeah, let's go ahead, but I wouldn't foresee any problems or anything.
And I think the club would probably just ask if there are any complaints or something, let them know, and in the past, they'll come out and try to stake out the area between those times the trouble has been reported, and try to catch whoever it is that's doing something.
Will there be a curfew on this? Is there a curfew now?
Well, our curfew is right now with no night riding, unless it's an organized event. Going to the Dam Diner would not be an after dark event of any kind that I'm aware of.
They close at 8.
So going there, Simpson Brook Road to get from one piece of property to the other, there might be, but I believe there's only one house, maybe there's 2, well, there is a second one. So there's 2 houses that would be involved there, but I'd be more than happy to let them know what we were doing.
Yes.
And then it would still stop, you know, by midnight, you wouldn't have anybody in that area.
In Simpson Brook, you have one camp, from a guy who's in Massachusetts who comes up once in a while.
In that one stretch that you're talking about.
Yeah, and then you have the one house, the guy that lives in South Africa and comes, you know, for a few weeks a year.
Yeah,
So
no.
it was really, and me, I mean, so it was really,
What's the responsibility of the town if we give permission and somebody gets hurt on our town?
I think the club's gonna give you a $2 million umbrella policy for trails that are used by the club. So to protect the town and landowners whose land's underneath that.
So that's where you fall into like vast.
to that.
Being it's set up under, as a trail system for the state of, through the state of Vermont, which we are, according to state law, you can't be sued anyways for anything going on a state trail. And, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you $1 million, on the state version side of it through VASA. You're gonna get $1 million, liability, policy, and the same policy has a $2 million litigation policy. So if anybody did get hurt and they tried to sue the town, and it's part of our trail system to use that area, we're gonna put $2 million worth of lawyers in front of you to protect you. And that doesn't cost the town a thing, that comes through us. We've already paid for the insurance. So any funding, actually, there's no funding that comes back to the town.
Can we get a copy of that, Jim?
Yes, sir?
So, I mean, it is a state trail, but it is a town road, so we don't have any responsibility whatsoever, even though they say they don't sue you guys, they sue us, right? Because we gave permission.
How does that work?
I don't know.
With with Bass, when you're crossing or riding a short section of road, I mean, that doesn't
We don't drive,
insurance.
we don't drive 8/10 of a mile an hour.
I'm not sure
That's
that,
where I'm getting
Well,
at.
no, but you do, in certain places you will ride along the edge of the road.
Chad, I'm not sure that we would have any more responsibility than we do when all these people have car wrecks on our roads.
Like, now I'm just asking.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
no, it's just. it's a
No,
good-
well, that was the question that was in my mind also, because we're sanctioning the use of this other, I suppose, but these are registered vehicles also.
Yeah.
But do you have to require insurance on the vehicles
We
themselves?
don't require insurance, we require the registry.
I would
I mean,
think the
I think
personal
it's hard-
liability thing would come into play as it would with a horse rider or.
I mean, I'm all for it, I'm just,
Actually, if I may, there are several towns that don't require, this is already under several towns. Many towns don't require insurance, and some actually do. So if the town decided that they would like us to make sure that our riders had an insurance policy, would definitely do that. But according to the Vermont laws, as far as I'm aware of, it's not allowed to have your ATV insured in the state of Vermont.
I think like a car, if there was a law, you couldn't register without proof of it.
I would say most of us already have.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
there is no law right now requiring it.
I would suspect that if somebody got hurt, they're more than likely to try to sue the town, just because it's got deep pockets, that's the way lawyers do, excuse me. But with the assurance of your policies in the town's policy and all of that, I'm comfortable in
Yeah.
any possible suits or litigation that may come from that. That's not, but my more concern was, with the neighbors up there by the town of Van, that's all.
But Bob Silver, of course, owns that
Yeah.
land along Robin Hill and then along Winslow there.
Mhm.
And the nice thing if the town does this, of course, now he can actually take his farm ATVs and get to his other part of the farm, which is on the other side. So,
Anybody else have any other?
The trail riders have this insurance policy, so my question is, would it name Townsend an additional named insured?
Actually, I don't know if they do it quite that way handled. It's actually anybody underneath the VASA trail system. So if our trail system is on, in any certain town or whatever roads that we have the right to ride on are the roads that they're insured while they're on that road. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
insured for every road in town.
I know what you're saying, that's normally what I do too, is get it as a name insured, but in
That
this
is just
case,
like-
the trail system, there's so many property owners, so many towns involved,
Yeah.
they have to be issuing thousands of those things.
That's the same way as with the vast, I mean,
Well, I
not
don't know
each
if
and
we need
every
thousands
one's.
of them, but the town should ask for that, in my opinion.
Doesn't hurt to ask, I know. It usually doesn't cost anything to do, I just don't know if they didn't do it in this particular case.
I'll be there Monday.
That's the only difference on this between normally getting normal as a named insured, is that there's just so many, you know, it's conceivable every property owner could ask for it, in, you know, every section, every town, every lot.
Bob Silva doesn't own both sides of that road, does he?
No, you don't know, coming down towards Route 30 on the right, except that little place with a new thing.
Right, but on the left side coming down, there are homeowners.
Yeah, there's two on the right before you get to Robin Hill, and then there's one there on the corner, which actually owns land across from it as well. And then I think there's one more or two that's living there. The rest of them is like that house that was for sale. The lady was convicted. Hope. Hope. Hers is on the way. And of course, Pat Hastings at that very end of the road.
But there are, there are homeowners.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a development.
Well, I think you gave it to us last week. Can you give me your phone number again?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, 874-4073. My cell number,
Okay.
579. Wait a minute, excuse me. No.
He said, no, he didn't get the cell phone.
579-5815.
Okay.
Well, by the way,
579-5815.
5815, thanks.
and I think it is prudent for the town, and guys, you may kill me or whatever, I think it is prudent for the town that you allow that. You basically can allow it that the ATVs cannot travel, say, over 20 miles per hour unless they right. That gives you some power that you can use if you need to enforce it, somebody really zipping through there and stuff. Because to tell you the truth, there's no way an ATV or something needs to be doing the speed limit on those roads. That's too fast. And that's also disruptive.
Do you guys post them? As like where you, would you post it like where
You
you?
can post whatever you ask us to post. Some towns go by regular, whatever the street highway is, posting it. And other sections are listed by whatever the town tells us to set them for.
Well, good luck, we will have Mary post it.
Yeah, but I think they can provide little signs.
Oh, yeah.
Alongside the
we
road
got
that
the sign.
ATV speed
Oh,
limit
yeah.
is.
I'm gonna provide the signs for every bedroom until when you're gone to a point where you can't go beyond. Vassar registered machines only, posted speed limits, stop signs, I'll take care of all that.
Wonderful. I think we, yeah.
I was just, can you guys and maybe Hattie work on a written agreement? So we have something in writing, is that appropriate, you want to do that?
Some sort of a
Just so we
memorandum
can,
of understanding.
Yeah, so we
Well,
both
sort of
got the
like
same,
what
you must have something like that.
Well, we have a regular landowner permission form that we do have, but go ahead.
Well, the ordinances we shared last time, if you wanted to mark them up to what you wanted
Yeah.
for language, we'd be willing to take them back, retype them, put your, put Townsend's name in its place, and then hand them back to you for review and edit again, so that you don't have that type of
Yeah,
work
I
to
was
do. But if you wanted, we provided town of
I was just looking for something to expedite it, and maybe.
Yeah.
And, the way,
Hey, do you have those?
I have the way, we,
So let me have those.
There's one that's understanding, is just,
I think you can do a memorandum of understanding while you're drafting the ordinance. The only thing the ordinance really gives you is gives you the Wyndham County Sheriff's Department the ability to give tickets.
Yeah, I really don't want to do it. I just wanted to do a letter of understanding, agreement.
memorandum of understanding.
Town, we hereby grant you permission to use town highway X and town highway.
the way we
Under
did it,
these conditions, no vehicle, no Vassar vehicle shall be used between and shall not exceed X number of miles an hour.
You can do a motion which grants permission subject to further qualifications.
and just, otherwise we could be meeting until next year. huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
we should,
what we did with the snowmobiles is they
Hey.
asked
You want-
every season for their permission to use the stretch of roads we use.
Yeah.
And that way it was sort of revisited every year and then just gave you the permission, so we should just do it.
Yeah, same way, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we do the same thing with our landowners, our private
Yeah,
ones.
so
That's
every
what I'm saying.
year, just
Every year I sign them up.
revisit us and it's,
Renewal.
another than snowmobile, club, we had to send that letter to Townshend, to apply for it every year to get
is
that.
that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a motion.
I would make a motion that we, grant permission for Vasa to use, I don't have the highways in front of me.
I've got it. I'll fill it in.
The highways as requested, upon completion of a letter of agreement with, Hattie, Select Board Chair. To be revisited 1 year from the date.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
thank you. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Well, Mark doesn't say aye.
You too?
Thank you very much.
Can we just hold on 1 second? Who's gonna draft that letter of agreement?
Yeah,
I mean, just to help move it along here?
Yeah,
Or do you wanna be in communication with Lloyd?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll initiate the draft.
Yes.
Send them-
sure.
Is there any special conditions you wanna put in there?
What do you want for speed limit? Is that
You
one
told me.
you need, or?
actually, our season, because we do share them with a hunting club, and there's a hunting club that shares our trails, there's also a snowmobile club. So far it is the 3 weeks, or 1 week before rifle season, and 2 weeks of rifle season, we're closed. Also, policy has been that we ride right up until there's a measurable amount of snow.
For the speed limit?
Excuse me?
Is there a speed limit?
There's no speed limit on the trails at this time. But my recommended speed limit, from my recommendation, is 15 mile an hour maximum on town road.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We get this.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep going till Tiz gets here. Mary or Cynthia, did you have something in particular you?
Yeah.
I guess we're correspondence, Greg.
Okay. So we got him. Now I gotta fill those in. You actually have them all. There is, I just want to acknowledge, there is a letter for ancient roads from Miss Williams, Pat Williams, with regard to her property that you visited a couple of weeks ago. Apologizing for not being able to be there. And there is
Paula's letter comes under.
Yep, it comes under new business, that's already there. And actually, that also is under old business there. There's a letter of agreement for computer appraisal services for the Vermont Department of Taxes for the listers to use the Marshall Swift. And that needs a signature.
Yeah, and that's just.
That's standard, every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It needs to be
and
paid with a
actually-
signature.
But that actually is, we won't pay until after the beginning of the next fiscal year, because we've already paid in this fiscal year, so.
Yeah, it says license terminates June 30th.
Right. I mean, you can sign it whenever,
If you
but
sign
I'm
it,
not
it'll
gonna
come
put
up
the
on the
check on
warrants
the
for
warrant until
next year.
after July.
But it gets acknowledged and off the table.
So I move the board authorize the chair to sign the letter of agreement for computer appraisal services.
With Marshall
To use the Marshall partial and swift cost tables until June 30, 2013.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Hey, I don't know how well that's
Yep, that's fine.
gonna say.
And that's it.
Oh, good. Okay, old business. Dog warrant. Anita said she needs the warrant signed. I talked to her today, and she says there was only one person
One left.
outstanding at this point. She also said that the one that we have been concerned about, actually closed and wanted to make an arrangement to pay, and then has not followed up on that at all. And that maybe having Joe pay her a visit would not be a bad idea.
I thought we had asked him to pay those folks visits between our last meeting and this meeting.
Was it this one or the next one? I can't remember.
I think it says June 4th if you look at it.
It's before this meeting, right?
Yeah.
And it's,
Well, and that
If you
may
look
be
at
why there's
minutes,
only one
yes.
outstanding.
It was my understanding that we asked him to give them a call and not pay them.
I believe it was to make contact.
Says, discussion focused on whether the select board would issue the warrant to the constable to seize and destroy unregistered dogs in Townsend. Subsequently, Mark made a motion to request that the Townsend's constables contact and/or visit those dog owners who have not yet registered their animals and report their findings to the select board at the June 4th meeting. Seconded by Diesendorf and carried by those present. So, the constable is not here, but I would hope that he has paid them visits already, because that's what we asked him to do at our last meeting.
Yeah, except that that one did not appear on the list, I don't think, because there was discussion about working out an arrangement, but that apparently,
I mean, I'm not object to him visiting. I mean,
yeah.
again, I would hate to be the one to pull the trigger, and that's all. You know, I mean,
Oh, I don't,
I know we have to sign the warrant, it's
Yeah.
State law. It's a
Yeah.
state law.
Well, and even if he visits and
He doesn't.
makes the board wishes known, because at some point we may need to do a survey to determine how many unlicensed dogs and dogs that we don't know about.
Yep.
in town.
Yep.
So,
okay.
Historically, I think that was done by the listers. Am I right?
Supposed to be.
That they would ask how many gas
They haven't
stoves or
done
gas
that in
bottles
years,
and how many. No, I know, but I mean, I think that used to be a function of the lister's office. Ask how many inhabitants and dogs.
Pets.
Okay, do we have a motion to sign this warrant?
I'll move to authorize the select board to sign the dog warrant for the town of Townsend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Somebody gonna talk to John and have him revisit first? Or that would be spit him out.
I'll talk to him.
Honestly, I think Joe and Ian want both of it. Where we go.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I still need to contact Linda, and her second letter was reflecting that she hadn't been contacted, but the board had decided to have the highway department look at that before it made a decision on how this was gonna proceed. But her offer was to pick it up if she could dump it for free.
And on May 22nd, when Chad and I met with Kurt, they couldn't find any trash within the town's right of way.
Yeah, so I think it's I don't know what it is, but.
So we ought to respond to her.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's not in the town's right of way, it's on private property.
If the town, just say the town inspected its right of way in that area and found no trash. If you find trash on private property, the town is not liable or responsible for removal of that trash as it's private property owners.
And Kurt actually said that they went and looked and they could not find trash on Manning Full Corner.
Well, she may have already picked it up.
They may have
She
already
said
picked
that
it
she
up.
was gonna.
So,
And that was May 22nd that you
and that was
talked
May
about.
22nd
Yep.
at
Yeah,
between
that's fine.
6 and 6:30 a.m.
That's fine.
I would make a motion that we return to members of the public saying that Liz is here, so we can do the town hall, so we don't have to.
We need a motion for that, I think.
Want to take a break, that's all right, I just.
Oh,
No, we got a break. We're ready for you.
Well,
Well, most of us are ready for you, too.
Well, as you know, I handed out a packet of information because the committee's desire, and I'm the chair of the committee, is to try to get all the select on the same page, you know? Because we've been going over this so much and trying to bring you up to date, because this is where we are right now. Although some of it, as you look through that, you'll see it goes back a ways. I also wanted to explain a little, perhaps you misunderstood a little, about the Vermont League of Cities and Towns grant, which I wrote, as you might guess, and we only got $2,100, but when I write a grant, I always try not only to find out what the guidelines are, and they were changing theirs, and, you know, so that, but also to talk to somebody up there, because if you find out, you know, they'll tell you something word that, well, we're really looking for this, or we're really not looking for that, and so that's always helpful. So what, and Vermont League of Cities and Towns, two people that I spoke with, one in particular, were very helpful, and what the gentleman said was that they had never funded fire doors. They didn't know whether that would be acceptable, but I should try it. And that one of the ways we might approach this was to put the entire fire alarm system in as like a whole package. And actually that was true, that the fire doors are a component of that. So that was logical, and that's where the total 17,000, whatever, you know, came from. It included the 4,000 and something for the fire alarm system. And as you could tell from their letter, they ended up not funding it for any number of the fire doors, but they gave us at least half of what we had paid already for the fire alarm system. So $2,100 was better than nothing, I guess. And that's why but that's where that 17,000 figure came from. It was never the fire door expense.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay?
I think from our discussion, if I may, at our last meeting, the board felt that it was appropriate to continue and to get the fire doors installed. Our concern was, to begin with, we didn't, at least I didn't, have a knowledge of what's it gonna cost. Because we talked about, there's money in the Mosley Fund and what's the other one?
Hard ag.
RDAG, there's money in Mosley Fund and RDAG to cover the expense. But I wasn't comfortable personally sitting here and saying, okay, let's just go ahead and do it, unless we had something, to know what it's gonna cost us. And I also understood that Westner had to do more designing, or that was all set and ready to go out to bid. I mean, we didn't know
Well,
where we're at for it to go out to bid.
so that's why a lot of that is in here, but I'm also here to just tell you but I have, you'll find backup. There is the cost estimates, which were separate for the fire doors, which were custom made vendors, $6,700. The countryside to purchase and install, it's this piece of paper they call it. The heavy duty fire holders and all the, the stuff that goes with it, and connected to the system was just quoted an estimate of $2,500. I know that the heavy duty fire holders are $350 a piece, but that doesn't mean that is what the cost is. And then we have the additional installation estimate, which is all there, and that comes to $4,000. Now, none of this is, of course, been put out to bid, and although we have a fairly definite quotes of price from Miles and Countryside, we can get a real cost from them. And this was done, well, we wanted to know anyway, but it was done for the purposes of the grant, because you have to have something to show what you're going to spend your money for. I think you should understand, the thing that's confusing, really confusing, is that this work also includes modification of the hallway doors to the restrooms and stuff. And that would be necessary in any event when we ever get to doing major renovations, but it had to be done because the doors had to be moved back enough to allow the stairwell upstairs to have sufficient space at the bottom. Otherwise, the doors were going to be. And those show where the doors are exactly shown on this little map drawing.
So,
and to answer your question, Kit, what Wessner has to do, and I alerted him to get ready to do this, he's made an on-site visit, he's done all the engineering for where the doors go. What he doesn't have, and needs to do, and I told him we were going to discuss this, and hopefully he can move ahead quickly, is the actual bidding documents, which are very complex.
which was my next question,
Yeah.
is he's ready and able to draw the specs for bidding?
Probably in
what
about 3 or 4 days.
And what that expense would be?
Well, that expense is on the last sheet of your, well, not all of it, but the last sheet of your handout is what we asked him to give us last December, which was what his billing would be, so we'd have some idea. And so the $650, which is last year's, that's been paid. The $1,300 would include the site visit, which he's already done, and drawings and specifications, bid documents, site visit to observe the work and administer contract requirements, ensure proper installation, and file completion certificate for the contractor owner.
What are reimbursable expenses?
Well, that might be phone calls and, little stuff,
Mileage and...
maybe mileage.
Yeah.
But, yes. So what I believe,
it's kind of in the ballpark 13,2, 14, 14,500, so we're looking at like 15,000.
Well, what I'm thinking and hoping, and Westner would agree with this, that when we put it out to bid, we'll come in quite a bit under, because they were making these estimates just based on hourly work. Probably the door holders, for example, with Countryside, would probably, if he made us a quote, would be maybe $1,000 less. We have to have, and the carpentry work isn't not too substantial. I don't know that the doors themselves would come down so much in price, but the installation could come down quite a bit in price, but we'll never know till we put it out.
Right, that's right. I mean, I think that's where we were at, right? And one other thing is, I think that what we discussed was in the bidding process that we wanted it stated that preference will be given to local contractors.
Well, there's no problem there. The only thing that I can see that Countryside is the logical people to put in the door holders, because they have to connect to their fire alarm system and so forth. But I think that we could get an actual quote price from them. And then if we're not satisfied with that. As far as the doors are concerned, if you look at the doors, they're going to be, this picture that I gave you is the front door, okay? The doors themselves will be an exact copy of this. It'll be wood, it'll have a panel, but it won't have these crosshatch business, you know. It'll be a clear panel from the same place up, so we'll let a lot of light into the hall. It will be stained, and that Mark did put into his estimate the finishing cost. We don't have a price on it, but he put it into the estimate, you know, that was included. So that it matches exactly what we have. And so any questions? So now that, he said also is part of the engineering drawing, you know, because he has to make up those drawings for the custom guy to do. We have a vendor, which Mark got through Miles, you know, Miles, the big lumber people. He does a lot of work with them. And the vendor is, I have stuff. He makes these things, and he's in Berlin, New York, which isn't really very far. I looked on the map from Manchester and up like that. Now, he has a website and so forth. It's Brian Milanese is his name. And he'll make them to Western specifications, you see. And of course he has to order the ceramic glass is the major cost of that, because it's fireproof, and that's unusual. But we have Milanese. Now I think again, this is just my opinion, you know. Anything I say here is unofficial, my opinion. That probably what we need is, when he sees the drawings, to get an absolute quote from this guy, but I don't think you can ask somebody else to try to do that kind of work.
So what you're saying is you want Westner to get the quote, right?
Well, he has this estimate quote, yes. But I think we could get you know, this was made way before, and now it's about to be done, so now we could get basically a price that they would do it for. And then if we're not satisfied with that, then we have to go try to get someone else to do it.
Well, I think for the amount of work that Mark Westner's put into this, he's gonna look out for our well-being.
Well, yes, and we've been working with him since, well, I don't know, 2008.
I would make a motion that we authorize Tiz to ask Mark Westner to drop the bidding process and the other expenses, so we can move forward with the installation of the store. I'd leave the, time for closing of the bids up to Mark, however he sets that up. And do
Well,
our
it's up to
own.
you, it's up to you.
Well, I mean, I
I
think
mean,
that
I'd
we
like to
wanna move
suggest
on with
something.
it, you know.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion too, so that we can, but, yeah,
And then, but you would have to, decide on what contractors you wanted to send them to, what local contractors. And I think that's a great idea, and I'm sure that the doors will be delivered here, so it's just a matter of following the directions, to build a wall and modify the mat and this and
I
so.
understand. But the other thing I think that I'd like to know from Mark is there's somebody that does this as their primary employment. I mean, do they do it all the time? Because if you get somebody that's got expertise to do this, it may benefit us. See what I'm saying? There's two different ways. If you got somebody that works with Mark Westner in other jobs of putting these doors in and knows how the doors hang and all that sort of thing, I think it would be prudent for us to at least get
To consider that.
to consider that as a bid too.
Yeah,
That's what I'm asking you to ask.
fine, I'll find, I'll ask both of those things.
So that was a motion to.
So the motion to produce a request for proposal for the board to review,
Yeah, two.
Yeah.
and also to ask for a contractor recommendation.
Mhm.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Okay, now, one of the things you're gonna, this first 4-page thing, which, update, which needs some updating, one of the updates that the committee would desperately like to have is what electrical work on that list has been completed. Quite a bit of it has, and we don't know, and we would like to know that.
We can get that to you. We'll
I
get,
think
we'll
we'd
get,
like
we'll
to
get the
know
list
that.
checked off. That's
And
such a good list.
Other offbeat suggestion that I have is that I would like Countryside to, they can make it a separate quote. But you would have to want them to do this, you understand, to wire and install door openers for the front doors. Electronic door openers for the front doors, while he's here staging up this other thing. It wouldn't be a separate trip or anything. And I would like him at least to give us a quote on that. We are so fortunate that we don't have to modify those doors.
Yeah,
That's because, well, Brian Johnson worked with us in Historic Building, and we're just so lucky that we don't have to do that, but it would be very helpful if we had those things.
Yeah.
again, if the motion's necessary, I would make a motion that Tiz work with Mark and get a quote on what it would cost
Yeah.
for automatic door openers for handicap accessibility.
That'd be fine.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
And that would be for both the original front doors and a separate one for the fire door.
The fire doors
Should
are,
be, yes.
oh yeah, he's the expert, I don't know what I'm doing, all the talking. But anyway, oh yeah. The fire door thing is all operated, as I understand the fire doors, when they have the automatic closures, they can be, they're automatically closed if there's smoke or fire, okay? But the rest of the time, whether they're open or closed, is controlled by an employee right here. So in the summer, they can be open, in the winter, they can be closed, on a rainy day, so we have complete control over whether the doors are open or shut.
Right, but if we're gonna be putting an automatic door opener on the outside doors, it doesn't make sense for somebody that needs the outside doors to be automatically opened to then come in 8 feet and have a heavier door that they can't open.
Well, the only time, I see.
Because during the winter months, the fire doors may stay closed to work as a additional barrier, wind barrier.
Yeah, 'cause those original doors don't have much
Yep.
narrow value.
Well, yeah, and we can investigate that. That's fine. That's why we need the discussion. So we know what we're doing. Okay?
Great.
Well, thank you. And come up to date on what the town hall needs. Now, we should all be on the same page. That's why I made that sort of elaborate menu, because it's been a while and
Just,
it's hard to know
just
what's...
when you're talking about replacing the old furnaces, just say boiler, replace old furnaces with boiler.
Well, okay, that's just not technical. The committee's technical lack, all right? So thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, again, I think we've said it before, but thank you for all the work you've done on this
All right.
and continue to do.
Yes.
Yep, so we should have, your next meeting, we should have all the feedback.
Yep.
Wonderful.
We'll have it.
Perfect.
Thanks, Bob.
I don't know whether I can pick up on that. Give me a hand. It's kind of a long share. Thank you again.
Okay,
What
back to old business. Town hall stove.
I received another call from Mr. Herrick, just asking for a better explanation as to why the select board didn't
Just give him the stove.
just give him the stove, and it wasn't because it was, for whatever reasons, but due to liability or the fact that the stove doesn't work or something like that. But then in talking with Kit and others, I realized that any town property has to be put out.
You have to bid, you can't just say.
And the board would have to decide, obviously, that you do want to or don't want to get rid of the stove. And that's a whole separate decision, which I can get back to Mr. Herrick with and say they do or they don't.
Well, our
But
gas
if they
company,
do, then he becomes someone who
our
also
gas
has.
company disconnected it. They would not
Right.
sell gas, but,
But he'll rebuild it or says he
Yeah.
would, restore it or something like that.
Well, the town would have no liability if you.
oh, no,
sold
no,
that.
no, not at all.
But it is town
You can't
property
just give it
of
away.
certain
Oh,
value.
no.
You
yes,
cannot
can.
just give it
Oh,
away.
my God, no.
And that a notice would, if the board decided that it was something that it wanted to move along, it would have to put a notice out and allow everyone the
That's
opportunity.
what we did.
I noticed
It
that,
will be a hassle, believe me,
We got in a
it
hassle
will
by
be a hassle,
putting another one in there.
which I don't object to, I mean,
It's not,
I don't object to it being a hassle, personally. I would make a motion that we,
put it
publicize
It-
that the town, the select board, is accepting bids for removal of the, is it a Garland?
I believe it is. I'll check.
Garland kitchen range in the town hall. All bids must be received by our next meeting, whatever.
yeah.
I mean, that's the appropriate way to dispose of town property. I don't think that we will ever use that stove again.
Well, we have to rebuild.
Way back when, I know I was on the board at that time, but the gas company did in fact unhook that, and they would not
Sell us.
sell us
Yeah.
gasoline, propane if we were gonna use that stove. Unless it was totally rebuilt, it was some extraordinary cost, that it is unsafe to use. At that point in time, there was some residents in town that wanted to keep it, which was fine, but I don't think, I just don't think that we'll ever use that stove again. And if we come to a point where we wanna do cooking and that sort of stuff in here, then we should purchase a more modern, efficient.
I noticed redoing the kitchen as part of Tiz's plan.
Yeah, but did you see that it can't ever be a full kitchen?
Well,
Did you
have to
see
be
that?
brought up to code.
What does that mean?
Oh, just
Firewalls.
It says, get rid of
Ventilation
old
system.
refrigerator and stove, renovate
Wow.
to allow microwave cooking, but not as a full-scale kitchen operation,
Well, we
not permitted full-scale kitchen
we
by
have-
fire marshal.
isn't the little propane stove still in there?
Yes. That's it. I do.
I mean, and I think that, what Tiz has here in the renovations is another matter. I think
Yeah,
that our-
it is.
I think it's a total other matter. As far as the stove goes, we've received a request for somebody that's looking for one. I've looked at the stove, and I know way back when, if you go back in the minutes, we're right or wrong, but it is in the minutes, that the state, the propane company would not deliver gas if it was gonna be hooked to that stove, and at that time it was unhooked.
Right.
I don't think it's, I just don't, I think it's
And soon
antiquated,
after that
and,
time, we put that other one in there.
and if anybody in town wants to keep it, then they
They
can
can
bid
be
on
on
it.
it. Do we have a second to Kit's motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Can I get a due date on that? Do you want that by the 18th, which will be
Yes.
the next
Is
meeting?
is that sufficient time, if we get it right out? I don't know what it, if
This
this
is
is.
the fourth. The next meeting would be the July. Second of July, I believe.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
It'll be the second of July. 18th of June or second of July. Second of July.
Second of
Yeah,
July.
the second
July
of
second.
July.
It was when it was disconnected.
Bids would be July second.
Okay,
Okay.
I think we've
Yes.
done all the talking we need to about East Hill Road.
Thank you.
And we go again with another furnace.
Right, fire department.
Fire department, I'm currently working on 3 RFPs, one for the fire pond, one for, the permanent access that we need to finish up the, as part of the, Townshend Dam project. For us to get the temporary access, we had to agree to do a permanent access, so that's gonna need a surveyor to go out and do a needs and bounds description for that process. And the third one that I'm working on is the the furnace and oil tank RFP. And I will have, copies of those ready for you, to review at the June 18th meeting.
Great. Okay, asset accountability agreement.
I also apologize, I have not made any updates to the asset accountability agreement, because of the work on the RFPs and the 2 grants. But I will,
And the appeal.
and the appeal,
Okay, so we'll put that off for now.
I'll put that off for now.
Fuel
Town
metering.
garage fuel metering, I've got a $6,518, quote from Beardsley to put in a single hose suction pump with a 10-to-1 pulser and 10 factory key mounted key control management system. For 10 additional keys, it would be $685, but I have some additional questions on it.
I have some questions too. Would you translate what you just said?
The pump that we currently have in place, the totalizer, the large numbers don't work.
Okay.
Also, if you look back through the audit that we had done at the town garage, one of the issues that VLCT had with the pump system is that some of the safety, the 1-inch breakaway, is not there on that existing pump. And so in talking with Beardsley, you're basically going to have to replace the whole system because the pump is gone. It's such an old system that they're not going to be able to retrofit it to anything. So We'll need to replace the pump, the meter housing, get it off of, the dispenser will be off of the tank. It'll be a separate unit sitting out in front of the tank. It'll still be underneath the shed, but it'll be sitting in front of the tank. And the cheapest unit that he had was a cabinet that you would walk up to with a key for each vehicle, and it would give you the amount of fuel that was sold to that vehicle.
How much is that?
The pump itself is $6,518. The 1-inch breakaway is included in that. The option for an additional 10 keys, because if we're going to do all of the town's highway vehicles, the fire department vehicles that use diesel, and allow for Rescue Inc. to use this, then we're going to need to go to up to 20 keys, which of course Rescue Inc. has said that they have some additional funding that they will help us put this in. So, but I have some additional questions on this pump bid quote. I have some questions on the rest of the board. Will remember when earlier in the year I had found a proposal and brought in some rough quotes from SCI Distribution to do a fuel management and pumping system that would, instead of us having to go out and read the meter, it would transmit it to a computer inside the garage. However, there's still a little bit of additional work to do, and I hope to have this for you also on June 18th.
Great.
So that we can finally put this to bed and have a fuel system there that meets the board's needs, but that also will allow us to track fuel usage by vehicle.
I just asked for a copy of this because I wanted to bring up something. I don't know if any of you all have read this, the legislative wrap-up. Okay. Well, one of the things that was passed this year in the legislature, miscellaneous local tax changes. Section 1 of the bill requires towns using their own fuel tanks to receive bulk purchases of dyed diesel fuel for their motor vehicles to now pay the penny per gallon fuel licensing fee that funds the Petroleum Cleanup Fund. Towns may avail themselves of the fund to clean up fuel spills.
Where's Dick Merritt?
So,
Our
just to let you
representative.
know, another penny
Huh?
Per gallon.
Per gallon.
per
Per
gallon.
gallon.
Well, thanks for that news, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just don't
I
think
thought you
you
were
read
reporting
that.
good news tonight.
Well, there was good news. One of the tax changes was we can now pay our county taxes in 2 installments instead of having to pay it all at once.
But we can make money on this
Yay.
spill fuel, because you can get that money back.
No, let's not spill any fuel. We're
It's
not.
funny we're talking about taxes, then we move right into cemeteries.
Okay, well, except this is back in Charlie's court, so I have nothing to say about cemeteries tonight. Scott Bridge.
Negative, and same with Blue Heron. I have not heard back from Scott Newman or from Lori Barr on either of those, but I do have emails out to them, and I'm hoping for updates. If I get them, I'll
Who is-
email them to you.
Who is watching Scott Bridge? Because they've got the sheep wire pulled up in there.
Yeah, they do.
That's the state's problem.
Yep.
It's a state's problem.
No, but I did get an email,
Yeah, I was gonna.
invitation to Historic Covered Bridge Committee meeting, July 12th.
Oh,
Well, that's what we're looking for.
I'm gone, vacation,
I'm here.
so
Vacation?
somebody else got to do it.
How come you got the
July 12th is
You were any of the town reps are invited
Oh,
to
okay.
finish.
July 12th is a
Thursday night.
It'll be a long day up
Is it
there.
at night or during the day or?
Thursday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
And whereabouts?
National Life.
Montpelier?
Of course.
well,
Having a seminar on Scott
Are
Bridge.
they
we're
gonna-
gonna
Is
have-
it all of the all of the bridges, or is that
This
specifically
is, I
Scott
would say
Bridge?
this is,
that's probably
If that's
Scott Bridge.
specifically Scott Bridge, oh.
Can you read it
it
to
says
us?
the subject, Forward Townsend Scott Covered Bridge.
Yeah,
Hope it is just Scott Bridge. And
I can make that available. I can take a a day off to go do that.
I don't know whether I can yet or not, but
I mean, I'll respond to it saying that I will, and whenever we figure out who's going, maybe I'll
You know,
just,
Can
tell
you,
them, just tell them.
Chad, can you forward that to me?
yeah.
Just a copy of the email forward so that I have maybe we can get a webinar thing going here.
I can't guarantee you at this particular moment, but I will at least get my calendar, maybe we can. 'Cause I would like
Save
to
some
know
gas money.
something.
yeah,
Take a road trip.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll
we'll find-
respond, tell them that there will be at least
We'll
one
find out what it is, and somebody can be there by
representative
Skype if nothing else,
from the town.
because they're gonna have notebooks there.
Says,
and
please
you-
invite a rep from DHP, what's DHP?
Right.
Preservation?
Historic preservation.
They're the ones responsible.
They do have that wiring is back and the air going through here.
Yeah.
That's the state, that's
Who put,
state
who
code.
moved it though? Anybody know?
Kids,
man.
Kids, they'll
People
be jumping
live
off
across
of
there.
here,
Oh, okay.
swimming.
That's right.
Mary,
Okay, so there's several of us who are gonna,
You want this?
see it crawling under
I'll
that.
take that, or you can send it to me, I'll take it if you want.
Take it, so if you don't see it from me, ask me where it is.
Well, I can make you a copy of this.
No, I got it.
Okay, all right.
okay, how about Blue Heron?
Also, I did not receive anything from Lori Varg. They did get most of their permits in. They should have a work schedule. Ever since they asked the select board for a letter of endorsement, they've kind of left us off the communications list. But anyway, we'll find out. They should be beginning here in a month or so, if they're gonna try to get something done this year, get that installed this year. So, I was just looking for an update on that, but I haven't received one yet.
They were doing, surveying up here the other day.
Oh, yeah? Up on the actual on the dam itself? Yeah, okay.
They have to do some dredging.
Can you imagine if they'll find it here?
Who or what?
No, he said they should do some dredging. So can you imagine what they'd find in there after I leave?
Oh, okay, we're up to ancient roads, and Craig handed out a very brief, kind of outline of what the deadlines are, or how much notice has to be given. I tried to plug that into real dates. Obviously, I forgot about Kit when I suggested Saturday site visits.
That's, okay, you should just
No.
go ahead with it. No, seriously.
I'm gone for both, two of them.
Okay, which one are you here for?
7/21 will be back. You can do it Sunday morning, so I will be back, I think, the 15th.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm perfectly willing to do it Sunday, I just didn't even think about it.
Sunday mornings would probably be better, because
Fine.
I will be gone the 15th, but I should be back the 22nd.
Okay, but we've got, I don't know, what I listed here is the unidentified corridors to look at, basically. We've got some ancient roads we'll have to look at too. This is obviously not a complete list of everything. What I was thinking was that after the site visits, we could just plan to spend half an hour or an hour together in a workshop here on that same day, rather than taking time on another day to all get here again.
That's better, I think.
And everything is as fresh as it can possibly be in our minds. I also noticed that the end of July is, well, July is one of those months with 5 Mondays, which means that we've got a gap of 2 weeks between select board meetings, and so the 23rd and the 30th are both Mondays that we don't have regular meetings, and I was suggesting that we do hearings or a hearing. And I don't think a hearing is probably gonna take a lot of time because I don't know, as there are many people concerned about many of these. We didn't get anything in writing or anything about most of them. So we might want to just have a hearing on all of these at least at one time.
I mean, if you wanna try to schedule one of these in June?
There's not enough time
Oh, okay, gotcha.
because
No, but our site visits we can, right?
no 30 days notice
Oh, okay.
for the site visit and the hearing,
Gotcha.
both.
Yep.
So we can't do it any earlier than July.
You can do it without me, you know?
That's why I think you should, you schedule them and those of us that can make it, can make it. Because if it were Sunday, July 8th, I will not make it, and I will not make it Saturday, July 7th.
Well, why don't we say
So-
the 15th and the 22nd, some
Those,
days?
those I will make, but I think you should schedule them others. And, I mean, I certainly take it on myself to go look at whichever ones you're gonna look at that day. But you should have it, like July 8th, you are going to do a site visit on what roads?
Well, I need all of you to look at, I've listed all the roads that we haven't looked at, or all the unidentified corridors. And I sort of put them into two groups sort of geographically,
That's good.
which seemed to make sense to me, but the rest of you will look at them, and obviously the first list is a deal longer. For the most part, they're shorter roads. The second list, we have one on it. We know that we're probably going to have to hear about it at a site visit and again at a hearing, and
Which is.
There'll be
okay.
discussion.
yeah, but I think that we've got one on the second list that's going to take a lot of time. I don't think we have a lot on the first list that will.
There's been some communication about Barber Road extension, so there will be some interest in
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay.
And the town definitely needs to determine liability for these roads. If an accident were to happen on it, if it's a town trail, whose liability?
No more than what it is today.
Exactly, but we need to have a definite answer for the
Legal opinion.
legal opinion for the abutting landowners. Because I know at least one of them has asked.
You know, it's like,
Wait a minute, say it
I
again.
don't understand.
yeah, I mean, what's my
For
liability?
example, on Barber Road, the land, right now, there's an unused road that goes through there, that if we turn it into a town trail, and if somebody gets into an accident on it, the landowner is asked specifically what would be their liability, what would be the town's liability. And I know it's easy for us to say, well, there's no liability, or there's the same amount of liability as if somebody gets in an accident on Route 30,
Or
But it
any
would
other
just-
town trail.
or any other town trail. It would just be nice to have a legal opinion.
I can get that, and
I mean, if there was an issue here a couple of years ago on a snowmobile trail where there was malicious intent, I guess you'd call it, because they cut a tree down across the trail and someone came through after the trail was open and hit the tree. Now that's intent. I mean,
well,
that's
yeah,
somebody
that's,
doing something to try to, that's.
yeah, that's a whole
That's
other
a-
thing.
yeah,
That's a whole
that's
other-
another-
Oh, okay. Start out by looking at these lists of roads and tell me whether the division makes sense, or should we move them around?
What makes sense?
How
The way I broke them down into two groups.
What's up with Riverdale Road?
I'm gonna throw it up.
Route 30, I think they built a bridge there.
See that big one?
That's where all the money in Townsend is. That's where all the money in Townsend is, Riverdale Road.
Wow. Stay out here.
First two residents there are just,
Oh, here it is. Top Notch goes from a spur off of East Hill Road to Deer Valley.
that's,
I think they make good sense, and I think that we can meet.
Goes from Essex over to the
yeah,
town.
yeah. Comes out over on,
And so those are all just.
I think there's enough of us that'll meet and see it, so that we can do it.
Right. Whoever can, just talk to them, just order it.
And go look at it.
Okay, which group do we wanna do first?
we'll do the first group, right away, you got it.
Okay,
You want,
Are you meeting 7/8, 7/15, 7/22, is that what you're doing?
no, just the 15th and the 22nd.
No.
10 o'clock?
So just the 15th and the 22nd, and on the 15th, you're gonna wanna do the first group?
Yeah,
Pheasant and Barber, Gale,
Yeah,
Schoolhouse,
those.
Fisher, Round Hill.
I don't know,
10 o'clock,
10,
You
yeah,
know,
10.
10.
We're talking Sunday.
President at the Cemetery Road, the first one on the list, that's what we'll do. Just keep it
Where
on.
is that?
Okay, and how about a hearing on the 30th?
Okay, wait, now, the second group, you wanna do on the 22nd?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. At 10 o'clock also?
Yes,
sure.
And gonna meet on Greenwood Drive.
yes.
Alright, just so I'm clear on
So
this.
those are the Mondays we don't have to.
Don't you wanna be there for Greenwood Drive?
Now, with regard to the hearing, are you including the ones you looked at up off of Route 35 and Simpson Road in that hearing as well? Those 3 roads, 4 roads?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Is this?
That
Got
was
it.
a long night.
Yeah, okay.
I think when you notify people of those, you might come up with a, final sentence, for those people who have come in,
We'll talk,
okay.
alright? We'll work on language here. These need to go out pretty quick.
Well, yes, I said that tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, well, it ain't gonna happen tomorrow, so it's gonna be the next day. We'll talk
Come
about
on. Don't wanna hear that. Yes,
Pretty
sir.
good.
Yes, sir, they'll be.
Takes me all day.
Well, actually, you've got a few more days since
it. Yeah, no,
you scratched the 7th.
we'll get them out, and they need to,
Don't
and
that.
they need to go certified. Okay, so it's gonna, okay,
That's what the statute says.
yep, okay, that's fine.
And we're gonna do it right. So how about if we have a hearing on the 30th?
Which is a Monday night.
Yeah, it's a Monday night, that we don't have a regular meeting. We could do it on the 23rd, on the other hand, we're doing these site visits on the 22nd. Whatever people think, I don't care whether we do.
30th is fine.
30th is-
Right, if we need a rollover, we can always do something else in August.
That's true. Well, then we may be looking at ancient roads and figuring out whether we wanna keep some of those or not. That's a whole other thing. I should also tell people that tomorrow afternoon, I am meeting Richard Coutant here at 3:30, and we'll do whatever looking in the town records we need to do, that we can get done in half an hour. And he wants to see, because we had some questions, I said, what do you do about discontinuing part of, but not the whole thing? And he said, oh, you can do that, but he wanted to actually see it. And I also asked him about what do you do if the road has changed course? And he wanted to see that too. tear the shed down, I don't know,
It's a shed, not the garage.
right.
And the
But
shed is
also
only, huh?
concerns, also other concerns.
There are other concerns because the shed doesn't give you any kind of right of way on either side of the road. I mean, it depends on what you want to do with the road.
Yeah.
Right.
But
But
my
it doesn't give you the
question was,
clearance.
what do you do if the road has changed course? And he wanted to look at that too. So we're going out to look at those two things tomorrow. Anybody who wants is welcome to join us.
What time?
3:30 here.
If I can back up a step, hearing on July 30th, at what time?
Oh, should we do the regular 6 o'clock?
I think that's too early if you're asking public to come. I mean, I'd like to do it at 5 o'clock, because it's gonna be a long night,
But it's gonna be early.
Okay, shall we say 7?
no, that's too late.
6:30?
I'd just say 6. I mean, you gotta,
Say 6 o'clock, they'd be here,
It'll
but
be here,
Yeah.
100%.
they need a hot dog,
What did I do for the last one?
6 o'clock.
Okay,
In the morning,
Yeah.
By then the
coffee,
probably
don't-
will be open.
I don't,
I had Cindy show up an hour early for the last one.
I'm
we won't be
retired.
open until we can find some reliable help.
Yeah,
Okay,
and if you can get the pizza house next door open by then, that would be a good thing.
I've tried 3 years.
yeah, I was thinking if I was not gonna, it's not gonna satisfy our need. Personal pizzas is bigger, $11 each.
still not getting it stuff on it.
Oh yeah, they're quite good, but, thank you. Lister's office vacancy.
Oh, I know we're supposed to do additions and deletions on the old business, and it just totally slipped my mind, and I have a very quick one on the old business.
You can do it.
Grace Cottage Hospital septic. You were going to.
Yes.
I did.
You did, I
I
did
did.
get an email.
You did get
But I'd
that.
like to just discuss it so it becomes a matter of the minutes and the records. What'd you find out? Where do we stand with that?
I have not had an update since that email. The email was from, or it wasn't an email, it was a phone message from Dolores Coons, excuse me, Department of Environmental Conservation, Wastewater Division, Springfield, Vermont, came down the next day, next business working day, to review what was going on.
She did come down and look at it.
She personally came down to look at it. She was not, at that point, familiar with the Act 250 permitting. It's a big, thick
Yeah.
document. But anyway, she came down as a response to my query. My query, it wasn't a query, it was simply a statement that the select board had some concerns about construction activity with the addition of Messenger Valley Pharmacy, that there were heavy pieces of equipment apparently, or it appeared, on or near what some members of the select board believed to be the old septic lines, or the septic lines. And anyway, there was concern, and we don't have a local septic officer anymore since I was the last one. But in any event, she came down the next business day, took a look at it, I believe had some words with some of the people that were working there, and said that she would try to keep us updated, but that she would deal with Grace Cottage Hospital and the contractor, and I believe you corrected me on the contractor, because I don't know who the contractor was, on that. But she was very appreciative of the board giving her a heads up, giving the department a heads up to keep an eye on that. She was going to go through the permitting process, and was it in the phone message, or was it something I read? Indicated that if there's a problem, they will have to simply replace it or repair.
Would you ask her for an update?
I'll follow.
At our next meeting?
I will follow.
And see what we can get in writing?
Yeah, she was real helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, Lister's office vacancy. Do we have,
We have the one.
we have the one?
No others.
Paula Newton. In that case, would somebody like to nominate Paula to fill the Lister's vacancy?
We'll nominate Paula
It's not a nomination.
No.
It's a motion to
I would
appoint.
make a motion that we appoint Colin Whitman to fill the vacant position on the listers, on the board of listers, until town meeting 2013.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Sheriff's Department contract.
I put that on there because Sheriff Clark was here, he gave you two to look at. And it's just to keep it on the agenda.
I think at some point that we as a board should sit and review that contract. Maybe in a workshop or something, just so that we can have some, I just didn't want to sit here for an hour tonight to do that, and I'm really, I'd like to read it again.
Yeah, I would too. I'm not sure we need a separate thing to do that, but I am sure that I need to be more familiar with
Yeah.
the both.
I quickly went through it, there's a few, not really concerns, but some thoughts and questions maybe that I wanted to talk over, and I don't have it right in front of me, so I should have been more prepared, but there's some questions.
Well, I would think that you two could bring those up.
Yeah.
at the meeting,
Yeah, I think we probably can do
Yep.
it at a
I'm
regular
happy
meeting.
to do that.
Or we can do it
I
in
mean,
an
you and I-
executive session.
But you and I could, well, the contractual matters, maybe under the,
Yeah. Okay, so next time. Posting notice.
actually, if you would put, Wyndham County Sheriff's Department contract proposal under executive session for next meeting, that way we can plan
Right,
whatever it takes. In the meantime, I mean, everybody can look it over, but Hetty, maybe you and I can just work a couple of things out on that.
okay. Great.
Where is it?
618.
Where is it? I didn't see it.
He gave us a couple of,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe I
Three
got it.
pages.
I don't remember.
You should have it from the last meeting. If you want, I'll put another copy in your box tomorrow.
Yes, please do.
and this is the one from 2011.
I'll sell you one of these.
It's organized.
I'll sell you one of these.
How much?
Well,
At the auction?
Jeff has one. It keeps back here on the shelf
I probably have it.
between meetings. That's all right. I'll make a couple of copies.
I seem to only have one.
I don't remember getting it.
Zebra print?
You're looking for the proposals?
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
and the one I got, of course, is the one that's
The 2011, I don't have one currently for 2012.
Yeah, I'll get you. It was the same thing.
yeah, but there was another one that, a whole
just,
different billing way and stuff that, and that's the one I don't know.
One of them.
No. What's yours?
Okay, anyway,
There are two. I'll make copies for, I guess, everybody.
thank you. Posting notice of events on town website.
There was a request from for the farmer's market to just put a notice on the town website that the farmer's market will be open on Thursday afternoons and list the dates. And the indication was kind of a continual thing. Anita can do that. I can't. She asked me. I can't post to the website. Rick Heggie can and Anita can. And the question came up, I believe, just in general with you, as to how much the town wants to endorse private functions, whether it allows it or not, and advertise. These are draws to town. There are many things that we can post and advertise on our website. The business community has already got a link on our website. But I don't know where I don't know where the line is. But in any case, that was something that you asked me to put on the agenda for discussion.
What was I thinking?
I mean, I don't know where the line is either, but it certainly seems appropriate to.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess I'd have to think about what is the line. Is it a private enterprise, is it
Well,
non-profit?
It's certainly not.
if it's something that the town has allowed to, given the authorization to use the common or the facilities, then
It certainly ought to be,
it ought to be advertised.
I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rest of the board thinks.
I think it'd be a good idea to have it on there.
I think that, same as the farmer's market has done, any concern that wants to be posted on ought to ask the select board in writing.
Yes.
And we can give permission to post on the website on a request basis. You know, and then that way we have a little bit of,
Then we
I
can
think that would be a good policy, yes.
take it down at any given time too.
so I would make a motion that we, what, no?
You need it, I don't know that you need a motion, I can just.
Well,
On a
we got
case by
grant
case
permission,
basis.
I think that,
Okay.
I mean, if you're gonna do it on an individual basis, I think that we do need a motion.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The select board grant permission to the farmer's market to post operating dates on the town website.
Do we have a second?
One second.
All in favor? There we are. Oh, we were kind of wondering who in the world would want to be looking at our meetings. And I ran into Joe Juhas in the post office the other day, who said that he's been watching and he really likes being able to do that.
I do too.
You said
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh.
Nielsen,
Makeup.
Nielsen ratings are.
Wake up! Back to work.
I want a contract.
You know that,
We've had our executive session for tonight. We don't, I assume, need another one. Okay. Anybody have a final motion for us?
you know that Joe has sold us home. Townshend Acres is missing as a Townshend resident.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just get on the board, just get on the board.
It's good on board and he, hi Joe,
I miss you already.
I got your number. No, Joe's very helpful.
Okay, David just moved to adjourn very quietly, but he did it.
Right there.
David did?